Hello, everyone, and welcome to another recording. In this recording, what we're going to work on with Power Apps is to learn more about users, security, permissions, and so on. So you have to understand that by default, when you create something on the Dataverse, you are the only person who has an access to it. Now, if it was something already created and you're reusing it, that's a different story. So how can I let other users use some of those items or entities that I have created or objects that I have created? Well, first of all, you need to create users. And to create users, you simply have to go to admin.microsoft.com. You can see here admin.microsoft.com. And let me zoom in a little bit. So this is the URL. And after that, simply you go to user management, or you can directly go to add user. So when I click on user management, I can see currently active users. Now, before I do this recording, I created a couple of users, test users to kind of play with. So this is, let's say, the admin user that I created everything with. And you can see here, you have the login, let's say, ID. And the domain that we created initially at the beginning of this course to be able to use Power Apps. And then what type of license each user has. So you can see here, for the user that I used to create everything, I have the Microsoft Power Automate and the Dynamics 365. All right, so how do you add a user? Now, if you're doing this work in your own company, organization, you may not have an access to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. There might be a Microsoft administrator that do these jobs. So if that is the case, you of course have to request adding a user, or the user might be already added, and then you configure your solution to allow certain users to access certain objects. So in this situation, I assume you have full control of the environment or the platform. So simply you click on add user, and you have to provide first name and last name. So I'm simply gonna just create test, and this is test3. Display name will be test.test3, or display name test space test3, first name, last name, and here will be test.test3. All right, you can see this is the domain. Now again, if you are doing this at your work, at your organization, you would have your own domain. So you have the option of automatically creating a password. Let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see it automatically create a password, which is not a very bad idea. But so when you click on this, what it will do, it will create a password and then ask the user the first time they log in to change that password. But just for sake of demonstration and make it easier, I'm not going to choose this option. I'm going to create the password myself. So let's see what I'm going to put here. Now you have to understand that there's some conditions for the password, which is now standard for a lot of passwords for security reasons. It has to be between 8 and 256 characters, a combination of at least 3 of the following: uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. So let me try to do that. The cell says weak. It doesn't like my password much. Let me try something different. All right. Awesome. So now I have a password for this. Honestly, I have to kind of look at the password one more time to remember what it is. So I'm gonna pause this, copy the password, put it somewhere else if I need it later. So give me a second. All right. So now I have this password entered. It indicated that it is a strong password. So you definitely want to avoid, let's say, weak passwords, or it may not even let you proceed with a, let's say, weak password. All right, it'll ask you if you want to require this user to change the password when they first sign in. Now, again, this is recommended for security reasons. Just because you're the admin and the platform doesn't allow you, to also control the password for each user's because of accountability, right? And then here you can send a password in an email upon completion. Now, I'm not gonna do that, but if you're doing this in your organization, you most likely want to proceed with these options. All right, so now it asks me to assign different license. Now you probably remember that did this trial. We did the Dynamics 365 Sales Premium license, and the first user that I used took one of those 25 licenses, and I have 24 available. And then you have the Power Automate, which is a free, and you have like a really big number of them. So obviously not a big deal to give the users the Power Automate. So what I would do here is I will give this user I just created Microsoft Power Automate free. And then you can also create user without product license, which is not recommended because this will give them limited or no access to Office 365 until until you assign a product license. All right. Now, interestingly speaking, here is the app. So we have here the Common Data Service, the Flow Free. I'm simply gonna keep this as the default. And now, talking about the role. So what is the role of this user? So again, the user that you created at the beginning of this class had the administration privilege, and the admin in this platform or in any solution has the highest possible privileges. They can do anything. They can create users, they can create different entities, and so on. Now, there is a problem when you do that because some people have the tendency to also test using the admin role, which is not recommended. So you have to keep this in consideration when you're trying to test your applications, right? You have to try to test them with the end user privilege so you would know what you can access or what you cannot. Similar thing happened to me. So when I try to put things on Canvas, for example, a lot of times I test things, I forget. So I test things with the account that I have, which is an instructor account that I can see certain things on the platform that students cannot. Now, the problem with that is sometimes, I would see things fine on my end, and then students will send me an email telling me like, certain links are broken or certain things they don't have any access to. So, I always have to remind myself when I test what I have created on Canvas, I have tested from the student perspective, right? Not from the instructor perspective. So it is a very good practice, very recommended practice that you test things, you create a test user that you have the same privileges that the end user. They're going to use your solution, right? And then test with that user. So here, ask me what type of access they will have. So this is a regular user, no admin center access, or if it has an admin center access. So I'm gonna keep it here the default, and I'm gonna talk later on how can I give this user certain, let's say, privileges to access certain objects in my solution. All right. And then the second part will be here, profile info. So you can add what is the job title for this user. I'm just going to keep it as test. Which department they're in. Well, the test department. Don't do that on your end. Please try to kind of make up 3 different users. On your end, create fake names that don't have to be real people. Maybe choose 3 people from 3 friends of yours and just put their information or something like that, right? Populate the information or create three different users and try to populate that information at least fully for one of them. So the office, again, is test, phone number, and so on. So make sure to, at least for one of those users, fill all these fields. Now, just for the time's sake, I'm going to stop here and go to the next step. All right, so review and finish. I have the assigned settings. And, let's look at the display name and user. So this is the display name. This is the ID that they will use to log in, right? I have a password that I just created. This is information about the product license, as you can see here. And then what else? The roles, the default role, and some of the profile information. All right, finish adding. So this has been added. What else? Save these user settings as a template. It'll ask you, for example, if you're going to create a big number of users. Let's say that your department has like 100 end users, maybe like sales rep on the floor or in the field, dealing with customers and clients. So you can create a template for a different role. And then that will make the process of creating these users faster for you. Right, so I'm not going to do that, but obviously you can see here, full-time senior engineer, you can name this template, again, field sales rep, for example, and add a description. And then here, you can also allow this template to be available for other admins who manage users in your organization. And, that's it. So I'm going to hit close. I don't want to save that. So you can see here, like I created 3 different test users. Please do that on your end. Don't call them tests. Call them fake names or names of your friends, family members, whatever you want, names of your pets. I don't know if a pet would have a last name, something like that, right? So now here, and if you don't see it right away, hit on refresh, as you can see. Refresh here will refresh the users. You have the option to delete a user, so it is very simple and straightforward. So I can simply select the user that I just created and click on delete user. It will delete that user for me. And it's very simple. Say here, you can restore deleted users and their data for up to 30 days after you delete them. Data on their connected devices will also be removed. So see that when it comes to security, that is very, very powerful. Because, if you publish a mobile application or a tablet application, and then, some data for whatever reason is saved on those devices will also be removed. Also the license, so we gave them, or I give this user the Microsoft Power On Made Free license will be unassigned. So if you have other, let's say, licenses that you pay for, like the 365, then you can unassign that. And then here it asks you give another user access to this. OneDrive files up to 30 days after the user is deleted. That might be something you need for your organization. Simply, I'm not going to do that. But here, this user doesn't even have a OneDrive provision, so that's all good here. So give it like a few seconds, and as you can see here, the test last name test 3 has been deleted, and the same thing that I have just mentioned. Hit close, hit refresh, and then you can see that it doesn't exist anymore. All right. So we talked about user templates, adding multiple users here. Also give you the option to do multiple users at the same time. Kind of make this faster. You can also upload a CSV file. So it's a comma separated values. A CSV file is a flat file. You probably notice that you can also open a CSV file via Excel, but it's not an Excel file. It's actually a flat file or more of a text file. Now you can open it in Excel, but it doesn't end with XLS or XLSX, which is the extension for Microsoft Excel. So it is very, very common file type or file format to be able to exchange data, right? So if you have those users somewhere in a different, let's say, system in a CSV file, you can import that. So this will make it obviously very, very fast or more efficient. It allow you to enter up to 249 users at the same time. Now, I don't know if there's some limit on the how many users you can create with a CSV file, but I can assume it's also 249, but I might be mistaken. I haven't tried it through a CSV file. I haven't worked in an environment where I have to really create that big number of users at once. But if you work in a big organization, more than 500 employees or so, you might need to do that for one reason or another. Right, you can export users as well, and you will notice that probably one of the options will be to export into a CSV file, reset passwords, so you can select multiple users and reset their passwords if needed. For example, a data breach happened and you are afraid that some of the passwords for the users that use some of your apps might have leaked, so you might really want to enforce a reset password to all users. That's a very powerful tool. You might have also add a multi-factor authentication. So this is similar to what you do when you try to log in into some of the UW Oshkosh platforms, that you would have to have your username, your credential, username, and ID. In addition to, for example, they push like a notification on your cell phone, and you have to acknowledge that it is you who's trying to log in. Multi-factor authentication is a very, very powerful tool. You probably have to do that for your bank account as well. Sometimes they send a text message to your cell phone or send a certain code to your email address. Again, this will add multiple layers of security. So even if a data breach happened and hackers or cyber criminals in a way or another managed to access your credentials, it's way difficult to access the other devices that you might have. But sometimes some people would have the same password they use to log in into, let's say, Canvas is the same one that they used to log in into their bank account, the same one that they would use to log in into their private email or personal email, and so on. So you have to also be cognizant. You have to be aware of those good practices of not using the same password for multiple places or multiple, let's say, portals, because of the reason that I just mentioned. If certain credentials got leaked or a data breach happened, and your information now somewhere in the dark web being sold for a few pennies, you don't want to get in that situation. All right, so now you added those users, right? Now let's go back to our solution. There are different ways to allow different users to access different, let's say, objects. So this is an env or environment that I created few weeks ago. Okay, so if you go and click on add existing and click on security, you can see here column security profile or security role. So this is one way of creating different roles and different, let's say, security measures. Another way that I will do, and I prefer more, is if you go to the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. You know, we use that multiple times. Let me zoom back in and make this clearer. Admin.platform.microsoft.com. If you remember, through this portal previously, we have what we did is we create the environments, right? I hope that you still remember that, but if you don't, it's, you know, it's a good refresher. So this is the admin, not at the full Microsoft 365, not like this tab. This is the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So, and it's admin.microsoft.com. This one, it's the Power Platform Admin Center. Okay, so I hope that you notice the difference. All right, so what to do from here? Simply click on environments like we did previously when we created the environment. I hope that you still guys remember this screen when that's when I created this environment, and this one was the default. And you know, we click plus for this new environment and so on. You can go back to the previous recordings to refresh on that. But what we're trying to do here is to go into this environment that we created previously. Click on settings. And then here there is users plus permissions. So this is for application users, business units, column security profiles, and so on. And then some of the options that we here have are users, and we also have security roles. Now, what we're going to do is to create a certain role. Like in a previous step, we have when I created this users, I used the basic role. Now I will make a copy of that and make a role of my own. So let's do that. So click on security roles. And you can create a role right from scratch, but there's so much details going on. So one of the good practices is to start with you know, existing role and then make a copy out of it. So let's try to look at the different roles we have here. So we have here basic user, right? I'm going to click on this one and then make a copy. And then what I will call this limited underscore user. All right, so once this role is copied, I can modify the limited user, and the previous user that I created, the previous user profile that I used, the security role, will not be changed. So always when you're trying to modify these, make a copy. That's, you know, I highly advise this. Keep the one that are the default as coming from Microsoft, especially if you're working with a team of people, you know, it's easy to understand what's going on. So this is limited user. Let me click on it. And in limited user, what I'm going to do now is click on edit, and I can edit this role. So let's give it a few seconds till it pulls out the different permissions. And here you also can notice that you can directly add people into this role. So this is the new tab that opened when I clicked again on edit. Let's give it a second to open. Sweet. So here we have multiple tabs. So you have the core records. So maybe you want this limited user not to impact the core records. And to do so, it's very simple. You click on core records, and for example, let's see contact, right? So this is the contact table, and you can see that. Let's go to the top here. Let's explain these. So the row would have the table name, and then the columns would hold the privilege. So this is create, so the user can create if this symbol is exist, read, write, delete, append to existing, or append to an existing record, then assign an ownership and be able to share. So you can see there are quite a few details here, right? So what I'm going to do is for this limited user, let's go to contact. I'm going to remove any type of privilege. This user has no way to modify or do anything with this. So simply you click on this, and here down at the bottom, it tells you what does each of those symbol stands for. So simply click again and click again till it's empty. So now for contact, this user cannot create any contacts. All right. And now for being able to read, this user will not be able to read anything. The user will not be able to write or delete an existing record, append to, and assign or share. So you can see the level of details that it has here. You really have a very powerful control of the different entities and different objects and different records in your Dataverse or that your application interact with. Quite powerful. Now, maybe I want this basic user to modify the records in the tables that I created previously. So go to custom entities. And here you can look at some of the tables that we previously created, which are coffee shop and coffee shop owner. We created those, or I created those tables, right? So I'm gonna go here and next to coffee shop, click on this once to give the permission for read, write, delete. What was the fourth? Create, read, write, and delete. So I give those permissions for the, let's say, any user that has the role of limited user, right? So click on these. Great. So now, once I'm done, you can click on save or save and close, and this will update the role. Now, how would you assign different users to those roles? There are multiple ways of doing it. Well, one of the ways to do that is simply click on add people and start searching, or simply you can go back to, let's say, settings. So just let me go back quick. So I was environment, in the environment settings, security roles, limited users, which is the profile or limited user. The new security role that I just created, and then simply I click on settings to go back there, and now same let's say menu here, users and permissions. Gonna expand that and click on users, and then here I'll see, for example, the different, or I only here see my own user. Let me hit simply refresh. It says user page refreshed. So what happened over here? Let's see. So this is the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Those are the users that I have. And they're showing pretty good. They're still showing up correctly. So let's try to figure out where was the mistake that I did. So it is in the environment F22_1. So I need to make sure that those are in those environment. So we click this and click this, and looks pretty good here. I just need to make sure that those are created in the F22 environment, right? So make sure that that is the case. See, edit username. It's in the domain. This is my domain. That looks right. Let me make sure this is my domain, correct. And now, no indication if that's the environment that I created those guys in. Oh, sorry, my bad. All right. Apologize for that, guys. So I have those users. I know that they're there. Now, it seems like I have to add the user again. So let me click on add user, and let's say, what was the user that I want? Test user, let's see. Enter a name or an email address. Test user, here's a test user that I created in the other tab, and add. I skip that step. So that is created, there's no problem here, but I had to add it to the environment as well. Okay, so here now, what is the role that I want to give this user? Well, I created the limited user profile. Here it is. Okay, and hit save. Awesome. So it says here, test user has been added to the environment, but a secure role is required in order to access it. I give it a secure role. Secure role has been updated for test users. And where is it? Let's hit refresh. Now I see it here. Okay. So the users that I created, again, in the admin.microsoft.com at the higher level, so you can see here, the active users I had created will not show up automatically in the environment. I have to click on add user. And then what was the second user? It was test to user. Let's click on that tab again here. Type test to user. Now you can see, like, once I start typing it, kind of, it giving me an option to click on it, hit add. And now it asks me to give it a security role. So simply I would go back and to the limited user and just assign it that, hit save. Awesome, so it looks green, 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 hit refresh. Now that user is showing up. All right, guys, so what do I need to do right now? So now I'm inside the solution. I clicked on apps, and this is the Yes and Coffee app that I created earlier. So you click on the app, and you click on share. Okay, just to clarify where I'm at, so let's go back. I'm at home, click the solutions, and this is Yes environment. So I'm inside the environment and click on apps, and then Yes and Coffee, select that, and simply will click on share. So what do I need to do first? Well, what I need to do first is to make sure that when I select the app, is that I also select the role. So here I have to make sure that I select limited user, right? So I have limited user, and simply would click on share. So once I clicked on share, you can notice that I see now test user and test user 2. So how do I then share my app? Well, this is pretty simple. So I have that, I added the roles to the app. Now, let's see if, excuse me, simply click on play. So I'm selecting the app, I click on play. And you can see here this URL. I only have to share this first part. Okay, so this code, crm.dynamics.com with the user I want to share with. So notice I have full access to all the entities in my app: accounts, contacts, coffee shops, and shops owners. Now you remember that for the limited apps, I only gave those limited app or limited users. I'm sorry, for the limited user role, I only gave limited users the access to only those two. So if I did this correctly and I go and log in with this test user that I created, then I should be able to see the same. So let's try it. So what I'm going to go is I'm going to go to Edge, Microsoft Edge, and I'm going to also go in the in private window. The reason I want to do in private window because automatically logs in into my UW Oshkosh account. So as not to get into that, what I'm going to do here is simply paste this. So this is the first portion of the app, and hit enter, and they'll ask me to log in. Now let me go back and just grab the username, click next, and then the password. All right, so here it asks me blah blah blah. Can I skip this? I will skip it for now. Stay signed in, no. And let's try, see what I see here. Perfect. All right, so let me just put these next to each other and go here. This is me logging with YA that has a full admin privilege to the app. This is the test user. So the test user, first of all, doesn't see contacts at all, doesn't have by default access to accounts, but then for coffee shop and coffee shop owners, it has an access. I simply can click new and add something new and so on. So I can add new records, delete, edit with those. All right, so what you need to do on your end is, as I mentioned, you need to create 3 different users, and that's at the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Remember, admin.microsoft.com. So take a screenshot showing the 3 users that you have created. Right, so your original user, an additional 3. I deleted one when I was doing this demo just to show you how to delete. Do not use tests. Use random names. Make them unique. Name of pets, friends, whatever you want. And then after that, when you go to the admin.powerplatform.microsoft, make sure that you add those users to the environment. So make sure that you are in the environment that you have created. Okay. And then after that, after you add them to the environment, make sure you go to your app and take a screenshot of this to show that they were added to the environment. Right. Show the environment and show the users. Also, when you go to share, make sure that when you click on share, click on the app, that it will show the limited user privilege. So take a screenshot of this and put it in a Word document. And you should also, once you hit share, it should show those 3 users that you created with limited user privilege. And then finally, log in with this new user and put those next to each other, right? To show that the limited user, so here's the test user, maybe click on that to just, show that this is one of the new users that you created with limited privilege, doesn't have full access to the app in comparison to when you have your user. So click on this, put them next to each other, and take a screenshot to show that it worked properly. This limited privileges that or the security roles that you just created. The one with the admin that has a full access, and one with a limited access to the objects or the entities in your app. All right, so I hope this is clear. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. We can set up a time to talk over Teams, and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you so much for watching this video.